Sup, bitches, this is father of modern linguistics, and all-time pussy Gedda Noam Chomsky, here to announce two things. First, I'm not dead, you cow turds. Wasn't supposed to make it past 95. Jokes on you, we still alive. Shout out my ninja Kanye. I will never fucking die. Do you hear me? But please, dear God, stop sending me emails. That part of me is dead. I'm not answering anymore. Count me as another entry in Enrique Vila-matas' Bartleby & Co. I would prefer not to. You feel me? Second, in the interest of presenting a youthful option for today's progressive voters, I'd like to announce that I'm throwing my hat in the ring for the Democratic nomination at the convention.
I can't remember which American writer it was. I heard him speak, and he said that his job is to comfort the disturbed and to disturb the comfortable.
Welcome to Books You Haven't Read. My name is Nate Rankin. I recently read Balcony in the Forest by Julien Gracq. Is how I was told that name is pronounced. Why do you end names with a CQ, you silly little French people, you? And I want to do two main things today. I want to, of course, talk about this book, give it a review, give my thoughts on it, but I also want to talk about the context within which I read this book personally, because as we all know, we did not just fall from a coconut tree. We exist in the context in which we live and all that came before us. It is June 18th July. It is July 18th as I record this. Donald Trump just gave a somehow both boring and unhinged RNC convention speech, and he is favored in the polls right now. It looks increasingly likely that they're going to take old Yeller Biden out back this weekend and shoot him, but regardless of who replaces him, they are not likely to be favored, at least at first. And one of the things over the last 3 or so weeks, really ever since the first debate, that I've been grappling with is the more and more lucid reality that Donald Trump will be president again. Oh, by the way, he got shot at last Saturday. That happened. Barely anyone cares, but he still might be president. Okay. So let's get back into this actual book. I'll circle around to this. It'll be relevant. You'll see. So I was in Chicago recently, as I mentioned, I think, in my last video. And I got this book at the Unabridged bookstore, which I believe is in East Lakeview, in Chicago. And they had a whole kind of section, like bunch of shelves, like floor to ceiling, not quite to the ceiling, but of NYRBs. And so this was one of the NYRBs that I chose, largely because, one, it's been on my list the longest, and two, because it is kind of the perfect length novel to read on vacation. I also suspected it would maybe be a little resonance with me on this vacation. So on to the plot of this book. We are in the Ardennes forest near the French and Belgium border. It is 1939, and we are with Lieutenant Grange. And it is the late summer or early fall when we first start off the book. We are in the midst of what the British called the Phony War, and what the French called, I'm going to try and pronounce it right, La Drôle de Guerre, the Strange War or the Funny War. And it was given this name because Germany declared war on the Allies, but they did not immediately attack. And so, the sides were kind of in a suspended animation, in a liminal space. And there's this kind of both liminal space and mindset that Lieutenant Grange and his men occupy. You kind of see them convince themselves or think that this war, won't happen. Not in this fairy tale land where there's, beautiful rugged mountains and slow drifting rivers, and where Lieutenant Grange is walking in the mist one day and befriends a sprightly little woman in the mist and begins carrying on a sexual affair with her in almost effortless sleaze, but fairy tale sleaze. I don't know why I did jazz hands just there. And so you can imagine that fairy tale ignorance is going to run into the course of history as it happened in the spring of 1940. I think it is best to really try and read this book in a short set of time. I finished the last half of this book on about 3/4 of the flight back from Chicago to Orange County. And I think that helped me actually enjoy the experience of reading this more. It's a very short novel. It's like 200 pages, and it sags into a lot of description, a lot of physical kind of landscape description, a lot of description of rooms and of clothing and of precise movements that men and soldiers are making. It does, like, I guess the meanest way to put it is that it does kind of feel like you're watching a writer really enjoy his writing, which, no shame, I've been guilty of that too. The book wasn't so long that those sagging descriptions infuriated me, but the sheer amount of that type of writing was a bit stultifying, to say the least. That said, it's still a very interesting conceit. A lot of what's sold about this book is sort of the fairy tale quality to it. The book directly invokes that as a metaphor. The mood is often transposed onto and sometimes mediated by those natural surroundings that have such lush descriptions. And then, like every 15 pages or so, you get a little murmur about the war. And then it goes away. I think the novel gets markedly better as it goes on, and that's the case sometimes with really good books, is that it will lose readers, in the first 50 or 75 or kind of 90 pages, as this one almost did. Not really. I was pretty dedicated to getting through this, but I was like really underwhelmed for the first 100 pages. I will admit that. And so the book is about how Lieutenant Grange and his men are physically siloed out here in the fairy tale forest, kind of on the front lines, but also kind of in like a deep little pocket that you figure could just be missed. And it's also kind of about how they keep believing and they keep hoping that this war will stay phony, that they'll be in this extended, absurd state of war, that this is what war is now, this kind of state of suspended animation. It's obvious that they're willing to believe any and all delusions to stop what's coming. And boy howdy if that is not an apt thing for me to read while I was on vacation amidst the everything going on politically. Like when I watched the first debate, I was just immediately, like 10 seconds in, I had that pit in my stomach of, oh, there's no coming back from this. And so it starts with that. We get a defiant Biden saying he's not coming in. Oh, by the way, here's this hilarious yet incoherent little assassination attempt on Donald Trump that you would think would garner sympathy for him, but actually kind of doesn't. And then amidst that all, we have the seesawing of Biden going, I'm staying in, and now it looks like he probably is going to drop out, which is probably the smart thing to do, even though still won't be favored. Anyway, to connect this back to the story, I find even myself, staring at the increasing likelihood that we will have a second Trump presidency, I find myself really convincing myself, like really trying to convince myself, come on, man, second Trump term won't be that bad. You're overreacting. He's not an existential threat. It's a phony war. It's phony politics. Trump's only really out for himself, and he'll limit his damage to his own venal and corrupt interests. That's how I try to, comfort myself. That's the fairy tale that I tell myself. But I know things will get bad in, a way I can't necessarily, perfectly forecast or describe. But I know bad things are coming. You turn on the RNC and you see Donald Trump falling asleep while his sons are up there giving speeches, and you just really, really want to believe that that's what he's going to do while he's president. He's just going to nap a lot, right? But of course, it's not just Trump. It's about the people that he hires. It's about the people that he empowers while he sleeps his days away. And here I was in Chicago, amidst all this, having myself a carnivalesque time on the July 4th week of America's birthday, appropriately so, I thought. And then the news has turned as carnivalesque as it has. It feels like a big joke as you live through it. I cannot stress this enough. this all feels exactly as stupid as it looks. All of it. The novel ends very metaphorically with Lieutenant Grange escaping with his life. All the other men in his company have died or gotten lost in the forest or fled, and he has a key in his pocket. It's a key to the cabin of his girlfriend. So he goes back to this cabin right as he's just escaped, and he unlocks the door, goes in, goes to her bed. She's also long gone. She's fled. And he simply pulls the sheet over his eyes and he goes to sleep. And of course, that is like a big metaphor of what French society did, not just in like the onset or the oncoming of, the Nazi threat, but also kind of during the occupation, which I've talked a little bit more about in my Dirty Snow review. You should go check that out if you're enjoying this video. But finish this whole video first, and then you may watch more content. I feel very uncertain about the future right now. And that's kind of the only thing that can give me hope these days. Maybe I'm just holding my uncertainty up to my face like it's a blanket. But after 8 years of trying to predict what Trump is going to do or what he will augur or manifest, I'd like to say that my blindness is more in humility than in ignorance this time. I don't know how much I'd recommend this book if you're not like in a similar mood to me, but I felt like I really came to resonate with this novel in a way that's really rare for me. The events of everything just kind of lined up perfectly. So take that for what it's worth. Thank you for watching. Please hit that subscribe button if you have made it this far into the video. You better be subscribing. Come on, let's be honest, guys. Come on. Just one click. Just try me out for a couple videos, because more videos are coming soon. What will they be? Who knows? That will be a surprise.